Well, structured finance is actually a perfect vehicle. Well, maybe not perfect, but very good for helping companies access capital, because with structured finance, a lot doesn't depend on the company itself. It depends on maybe the assets that the company is using for collateral. And therefore, it separates the company and the company's issues and the company's balance sheet from the capital raising function. So for instance, a few years back, the metro system here in Brazil raised money by selling anticipated receipts from the toll gates, booths to enter into the metro system. And this enabled them to kind of set up a separate form of capital that didn't necessitate the reliance on the balance sheet of Metro. And so the same thing can be used, for instance, a while back, Petrobras set up what they called their suppliers program, where Petrobras provided the name of their top suppliers, and their suppliers were able to receive financing through asset-backed securities here in Brazil. Asset-backed securities in Brazil differ from almost every country in the world. And in most countries, they use a special purpose vehicle more like a trust in the United States. Here in Brazil, the special purpose vehicle choice is what's called a FIDIC, or Fundo de Investimento de Direitos Creditórios. Actually, for real estate investment trusts, it's the same. It's also an investment fund, like a mutual fund in the United States. But the key thing for the funds here in the asset-backed securities here is that the coupon is not guaranteed. It's just promised. It's stated. And then in the bylaws of the fund, they have certain triggers that say if the coupon's not paid in full, certain things have to happen to protect the senior shareholders. Whereas in the United States, if an asset-backed security doesn't pay, it's in default. And so there's a very distinct legal difference between asset-backed securities in Brazil and asset-backed securities in almost any other place in the world. Well, I think, first of all, the public sector could definitely use structured finance for some of the infrastructure. And other than that, almost any sector can benefit. You see a lot of the agricultural sector is using now what's called CRAs. There's receivables, certificates of receivables in agriculture, if you translate it loosely from Portuguese. And also you have the same types of certificates for property and residences. They're called CREs, certificates for real estate. And also, then they sometimes set up the real estate as what's called a FII, a Fundo de Investimento Imobiliário, which is actually a fund for real estate investment. So there are a lot of vehicles, and almost any industry can benefit, especially if that industry sells products to, especially outside of Brazil. They can sell their invoices to a special purpose vehicle and raise money that way. So it doesn't really, for almost every industry, there's a special purpose vehicle that could help them. Well, for the FIDICs, which FIDICs are Fundos de Investimento em Direitos Creditórios, which is an investment fund for credit rights. Most of the senior shareholders are banks and also investment funds here in Brazil, because the taxes are too high on the investment for foreign investors. So it doesn't make sense on an after-tax basis to buy them, for foreigners to buy them, unless you're a tax-exempt foreigner. A lot of the mezzanine pieces have tended to go to some of the state institutions, such as retirement funds for the states or the municipalities, and then the subordinated tranches tend to be family offices, hedge funds and other investment groups outside of Brazil.